Good afternoon, everybody. We are going to go ahead and get started today. My name is Scott. I am one of the support engineers, consultants at Implementation Specialist. Today we will be covering Report Writer, at least introduction to it. Report Writer, while it is very simple to use, is not always intuitive or easy to figure out how to add the fields or modify them. So today we'll be doing a very kind of one-on-one introductory class to the Report Writer program itself. If you do have any questions, please feel free to just type them into your GoToWebinar dashboard here. I will pause periodically throughout the presentation to address any questions. Those of you that have attended my webinars before probably realize that I do like to cover a few topics and then do a live demonstration in the Fabricam test that in GP. And I'll continue that here with our Report Writer. So let's go ahead and jump in. This is a fairly long one. Will probably take most of the hour, but I will try not to go over for you. Just 6 points on our agenda is a high-end overview, how to launch Report Writer, modify the existing reports within GP. Once you have those, how to make sure GP uses the modified reports through the alternate modified forms and reports window, how to create new reports in Report Writer, and launching reports from within Report Writer. The last two are kind of tied together because GP points to particular reports. If you do end up creating a new one, you won't be able to launch it from within GP, but you can within Report Writer. All right, Report Writer is a program separate from Dynamics GP, but is installed alongside it, and it must be launched from within GP. One thing I did not point out in addition to this is you do need to grant users access to Report Writer. We have, in the past, discussed security tasks and roles. We can certainly help you with that. If you do need anything, please just contact us. Contact information for us will be at the end of the webinar, and we'll be happy to make any adjustments needed. The first thing we need to do to launch Report Writer is there are three ways to do it. Those of you that are a little old school here might be more familiar with the ribbon menu up top, Dynamics GP, Tools, Customize, Report Writer. That one does have a keyboard shortcut, Alt F9 will also launch it. One handy way to do this if you want to modify a specific report here is to print the report to a screen, and then if you have access to the Report Writer, you'll see the Modify button. You can go ahead and click on that, and that will bring up Report Writer with the selected report, that report that you had hit Modify from already selected and open within Report Writer. That does make it a lot quicker if you're trying to modify specific reports. All right, once you launch Report Writer, it will ask you which dictionary you want to modify. This can get a little confusing because a lot of the GP products will show up separate in here, some won't. One option of this is like the HR payroll suite is usually called the HRM suite, which is listed as a separate product, but it is included with GP. So if you're not finding the report you want under the Microsoft Dynamics GP dictionary on the drop-down there, you can explore others if you need it. One advantage of launching Report Writer from the report you wish to modify is it does skip this because it will open up the reports dictionary that you are trying to edit the report for. All right, one thing to bear in mind is that Report Writer originally designed for the old dot matrix printers. They had the little buttons at the side, and basically everything was dots across it. So a lot of times when you're moving the field, it will be by dot. Usually, a lot of times each push in direction shifts it one dot over, which isn't much. So it can take some practice here to get them to move. And again, like I mentioned earlier, you can also create new reports using GP data, run them directly from Report Writer. It is possible to have multiple report libraries. What report libraries are, this is where Report Writer stores the modified templates. And this information is stored in the set file, which can be configured through your shortcuts. It is rather simple to do, but it can be a little frustrating if you're not familiar with it, getting to point to the different set files. Again, if you'd like help with this, please let us know. One of the instances I do see this, if somebody modifies reports, a lot of still have like report dictionary stored locally on their client, on their personal computer installed, so they can modify them there, but everybody else will point to like one stored on the SQL server, so they're all using the same reports. And this way, then what they do is when they're done with the modifications, is there's a couple ways that they can get them into the live environment for everybody to use. This is because, unfortunately, those dictionary files can be corrupted easily here, especially if a lot of people are modifying them at the same time. So usually like a configuration or a test environment for one set of libraries and then the live is an instance where I've seen that. And that seems to work pretty good for the people that do use that. So we're going to go ahead. I'm just going to show you the GP, the launch here. So I'm going to switch over to my Dynamics GP install. We are using the latest and greatest 2018 here. Again, you can go Tools, Customize Report Writer, or as you can see, the keyboard shortcut Alt F9. The other thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to run a quick report here. Just so I can show you that modified thing here. So we're just going to go ahead and run this one. That will work. Oh. All right, here's that modified button. Now I'm signed in with SA, so I have the power user role, so I'm not going to be blocked on anything on this here. But as you can see, this is chart of accounts by category here. So we'll click on Modify. Now you can't have GP and Report Writer really run at the same time. So as you can see, it's closing down GP, and it kicked it off to my main monitor here. So I'll drag this back over, brings it right up in Report Writer, and here's that report layout category. So we are in that same report right there. If you open, unless you do it through the report, the initial screen will be blank. The first thing you'll need to do is view the available reports. You cannot modify original reports, so you'll need to insert a copy into the modified forms list before you can edit it. Once inserted, click into the modified list, and then you click Open. And that's kind of what it'll look like here. So I'm going to hop back to my report writer, and I'm just going to close out of this here. And this is kind of what you'll initially be greeted with here. So I'll just click on reports. As you can see, category was automatically inserted into there. But say you know the, we're just going to pick one here at random, just as the 1096 form. We can't modify that. If I click Open here, it's going to bring up the category one because that's highlighted the modified reports. If I insert that over and then I click on Open, as you can see, that'll bring up the 1096 form. We'll cover these buttons later here, but some you can't always run from within Report Writer or duplicate. And that's just the way the reports are set up. You can add or remove tables from the reports that you see by hitting on the Tables button. It's usually predefined with related tables here, so you can add them and remove them as necessary. It's recommended that if you are modifying a GP report, that you don't remove any of the tables because that could break the report. And then from here, there are also several printer settings that you are able to do. Orientation of the report. If it is going to be on a pre-printed form, checkstock's usually a common thing for that. If the report is text-based, and how the text will be reprinted. So one thing to check is if you have a report that's designed to be landscape, well, you know, long edge on top, but all of a sudden it's printing, but when it's printing, it's cutting off everything to the right. Come in here and check to make sure like portrait isn't selected instead of landscape. Make sure somebody didn't change that. That's it. Usually it's just change that back and that'll correct that that issue. Okay, and then we're going to cover this because layout's where a lot of the work is actually done here. As you can see, I'm just going to open up the RM custom report here. It has the keys here. You can select any key. And this is generally with physical names, so it's hard to really track that down. There are websites that you can do Google or Bing search on to find that information here. So usually I don't touch this. Max records, how many records are to be printed in the report. As usual with GP, the 0 means infinite. Or it'll print everything here. The text reports here, if you do that, it's going to be more graphical, like some of the check formats. If you check them, will have like stub on bottom graphical. Skip blank records, suppressed decimals. I don't see those used too much. And then the page orientation on the printer settings here. Printer setting means the printer is the default chooser. So if it's set for portrait, it'll print portrait, landscape, it'll print landscape. But if you hard code it, like if you extend this over and it needs to be landscape to print correctly, you can always override that within Report Writer here. Text report options here. Again, this is, like I said, a lot of kind of a hallmark back to dot matrix printers. How many characters per inch? 17, 10, variable. Usually best fit is what people will leave. 6 lines per inch. I haven't seen a lot of that used. Same with over here. Printing options, last page footer, first page header. Because and I'll show this in the layout, but there's usually a report header, page header, the report, page footer, report footer here. So this is kind of showing what you want to show here. Usually, though, really the only things that I have seen really used anymore is, like I said, this page orientation. But for the most part, you are generally safe on just leaving this these format options down here alone. If you do wish to play with them, like I said, if it's something you have locally, certainly can. There's going to be no issues with that, unless you use like shared dictionaries, because unfortunately with shared dictionaries, when you make a change, everyone sees it that may already use that modified form and report. All right, to bring up your layout menu, you just go ahead and click on the layout button. And what that will do is that'll bring up this window here. What this window is this is where the information prints, how it prints, and we'll kind of cover this. And I'll pull up one of the checks here because the check's usually a very good example of this because it has graphical and text-based options. And you can move all of that information around, and there's a couple formattings here, like usually the dot means the dotted lines. Where's my mouse? There it is. Oftentimes usually means like it's hidden information. To rearrange areas on the screen, you can just, misspelling there, my apologize. Oh, no, it refreshed. You can just, click and drag with the mouse, or you can use the arrow keys to move it one dot at a time. Like I said, this was developed when dot matrix printers were all the rage. And if you want to remove a field, this is not always recommended. You just hit delete on your keyboard. It's recommended if you want to remove a field to make it hidden. Report Writer sometimes does have dependencies where it'll depend on a field. So if you delete it, anything that depends on it is going to break, and your report suddenly will start giving you errors. To add a field, you drag out the toolbox window directly onto the report. And then you can move it around, as mentioned earlier. There are also a number of static options that can be displayed on a report, text, pictures, shapes, to create headers. You can also insert the date and time that's on the report here, and that's what the toolbox looks like. So hopping back to GEP here. I'm just going to discard those changes. So I'm going to bring up a check here. The text graphical. Like I said, we can't open that, so I'm going to insert that in first. And then I'll open up the report definition, then we click on our layout key. All right. Not much to this one. This is actually the miscellaneous checks in the financial window here, but it is also simple enough to show you what is going on here. Like I said, to move an item, you can just simply click on it, drag it around. Control Z does undo your last action, so if you move it too far or you move the wrong field, you can easily hit Control Z to move it back. Excuse me, I apologize. To add a field, like I said, you just simply click on the field you want and drag it over. And then you can position it as needed. Here, as you can see, the little flashes each time I hit an arrow key on my keyboard, and it's just flashing as it redraws it on the screen for my understanding of what is happening. Duplicate slide, sorry. There is an Arrange tab that will allow you to arrange elements by comparing sizes, alignments. You can stack the tiles. To do this, you will need to select two elements. It's like selecting anything like Excel. If you will select multiple cells, you know the Control key is the key there. And that's the same thing here. And this is what the Arrange tab looks like here. So we're going to go ahead and show that here for you quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring on something like this. Like I said, we're going to change this here. So we got city and state. So we're going to select these two fields. As you can see, when there's multiple fields selected, I'm going to do that again. You see the little where you can the drag and expand options are blue. We have multiple selected. It gives you a visual cue of white there here. So you can drag them around like that. That's because it doesn't really let you resize, but it'll let you move them or both of them around by dragging and dropping, and they will retain their relative position to one another. But you can move them to a new starting location up here. But here's the arrange. What the alignment does is it basically will move it. So if you click on the up, it'll move it so it's on the same level as the highest element. Down obviously does the opposite, moves the items to the same level as the lowest element. Left and right, same thing. So for example here, I'm going to click that. As you can see, it moves state all the way over, so they now have the same, as you can see, the position. No, I guess the numbers were a bad one here, but as you can see, the left is actually going to be parallel. Size will actually increase the size of the field. So this will bring the height down. As you can see, these fields here are a little smaller than these. So if I want to do that, I want to shrink the state, I could click that. You can see state got a little smaller. The text in there is a little more cramped. You can shrink the width to the narrowest element. So if we go like this, it brought city down so it's the same length. And then when you're done, you can click on the middle button there to restore default. And those are the same lengths, heights, widths, and everything that when I first drug it out. And then you got your tile buttons here, which will show you how to stack them. Like if you click that, it'll bring them up and over, and then you can bring them up to the bottom here. There's also the option to do like that. So if I want to go city, state, so if you're putting together an address with each field separate, you could certainly use this and make it easier. It'll bring state right to the end of the city. Or if you're doing like address lines here, you could stack them, and they'll do so that they won't overprint one another, but they'll also have that space in between. And then when you're done with this here, you close out this. It says, do you want to save the changes to this report layout? You can go ahead and click on save, and that just saves the layout. So if you made modifications to the report, you linked in another table, or did anything like that, when you close out this, it'll ask you if you want to save the changes to the actual report. All right. I'm going to kind of pause here for questions. Like I said, there's a lot to this report writer. Like I said, there's a lot to it. There's actually a lot you can do in it. So this is more of a, like I said, an overview, but if you have any questions or want to go into a little more in depth in the topic, please let me know and I'll be happy to do so here. Just type it into the questions field. All right, once you did it, made your changes, you'll need to assign that to the alternate modified forms and reports field in GP. If you do not do this, it'll continue to print the default GP report. So if you've made changes, one of the first things you're going to want to do is come in here and take a look at this, because chances are this didn't get assigned, or there's, depending on your GP step, you might have different classes here. So somebody may not be in the one, so they might be seeing the original while the others are seeing the modified. And that's just what that window looks like here. Again, this is system administrative kind of work, so you may not be familiar with this window here, but this is certainly something we could also assist you with. You'll need to select the alternate modified forms report ID, the product and the series where the report can be found, and the type will be report here. When found, put the radial in the report that you want to run here. So then over here, I had it just as an example. I had sales up blank order form here. As you can see, I also have the manufacturing module installed. So there's a manufacturing version, there's a Dynamics GP, and then as you can see here, it says modified. And you might have a lot of these. So somebody might have the manufacturing, went in modified that. So you might have manufacturing modified, Dynamics GP modified. And you will see a lot of other reports that will kind of take this over as well. So a lot of ISVs will also use them. So if they're having issues with the ISV report not running, another place you can come and check is in here, because chances are it might just have like the GP instead of your ISV installed. So a little bit outside of the report writer here, but you know, now you know, and as the old G.I. Joe saying goes, that's half the battle. So what we're going to do here is kick off GP. Now, you can close out and relaunch GP, or if you click on File, you can just click on GP. What this will do is this will return you to the company with the login that you had, where you had launched Report Writer with. And this is even if you went the other route and went through the Dynamics GP Tools Customize window here. And it launched it just like it was the first time launched. Again, my reminders popped up there. Tool, setup, system, alternate modified forms and reports. Oh, that's right, it hadn't finished loading. I jump the gun on that all the time here. As that stated, you select your ID. And Fabric Cabinet only has the default user here, so we're just going to continue to do that. All products. And we're going to change this to reports. Now this will take a moment here because I didn't change the series, so this is pulling financial, sales. This is pulling everything and checking everything. So this will take a moment here. All right, so as you can see, it didn't bring up all of the modules. It only brought up financial, payroll, purchasing, and sales. Because these are the ones where there's only options you can select in. So we're going to go sales here, and again, SOP blank order form. Different library here. I think I was doing my testing on 2015. As you can see, the GP, but I have manufacturing sold. So if I want to run the one that comes with manufacturing, I put it in there. Payroll, you can see there's a small number in here. They do have that HRM, the payroll and the HR software suite installed. Now you can kind of, there are ways, a few things you can do here. Like you can revert back to default here, but this changes everything. So it's recommended you do it report by report. One other thing I want to show you here is this ID default user. This may not be familiar because it's really only set in one place here. And that is actually under system. Yes, user security here. Okay, again, I don't have a lot of my 2018 here, but as you can see, you select the user and then the company. And then down here is where you select the alternate modified forms reports. And default user is the only one. So if you have different setups, say you have a couple different ISVs, but you only put the ISV on the computer of somebody that will use one of the modules that ISV interacts with. You might have one set up for that. You might have someone set up for the default user for testing. So it's actually possible to have somebody like here, 4 companies. If I want to, I could create 3 additional modified forms reports and assign a different one to each company. Currently, these all just have restorations of the Fabricam data in there, so I can display the information different ways across the companies if I want to, but that is where that is set as in user security setup. So even if you do modify it and people have reports that are not printing out that you had modified, that would be another place to check and make sure that they have that same report ID there. Custom reports. It is also possible to create new report writer reports, although they can only be run from within report writer. And the reason is GP calls specific reports. You can tell it to use the modified or the original, or if it has other dictionary files with the name as well. To do this, you click on New, and there it is. You just bring up the reports again, and you just click on the New button. Before you can create your new report, you will need to provide it a title. The series that it's going to run for, like you said, my series said all. So if you want to help narrow that down, you can select the series and the primary table to be queried and the key from that table. Again, you can just do a lot of the primaries. Usually the best place to start is if anything has like a master in the title, that's usually a good place to build from, because most will in one way or another link back to that table. And then there's what that looks like there. And then here it is with its kind of filled out here. Just payroll master, selecting the information. It's called employee listing. So we'll kind of walk through that here quick. And this will build off of the information that we had covered previously. We do need to get back in there. So because I don't want to pull up a specific report, I just did the Alt F9. Again, here's the pop-up for that dictionary file. I'm just going to do the GP one here. Of course, it brings it. Click on reports. Here's that new button field here. It also helps if I do not misspell anything here. You can see this has a lot of them here. So like I said, it's going to be payroll, so I'll kind of show you what I'm going to do here. Employee or payroll master. Again, I'm just going to leave it on 1, skip blank records, printer settings. So then I'm going to click on my layout button here. Now this gets a little complicated because as I said earlier, you got page header, report header, body, report footer. Some information can either go into either, and a lot of times you'll get a message on that. But like I could bring up, the body is going to be employee ID, birthday, and we're just gonna, and something else I didn't cover here is, like I said, you can expand that out here. I want that to be on the same level as this. Like I said, I'll select the both, I'll arrange them so that, boom, it's end to end like that. And then we'll bring up their last name here. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll print this to the screen here. All right, and like I said, it pulled it. We were in with it with Fabricam, so it's pulling the data out here. So I don't think there's birth date in from. information stored in there because it said to skip the blank records, I think, on there. We'll double check that here. But you can see the employee ID, or actually, it looks like we might have the birth date there, but as you can see, just a simple report run here. And it's just to gather quick information here. Like you said, there's no modify up here, but you have all of your standard GP report options. You can click on print and send that to a printer if you want. I'm going to cancel. If you have the email set up, you can set it up as the send to option there. It can take some time. You can create beautiful reports with that here. One thing I did want to show. Like I said, I added those statics there, the date and time. So if we print this again then, and there it is, and that's the date and time that this particular copy of the report was printed out. I could use the plain text fields here. If I want to add headers to it, so yeah, the birth. Oh, so yeah, it was just birth. It's not the full date; it's just the birthday. So you'll have this text field here. So what it's doing is put the birth date, just the numerical date of the month they were born. So if they're born on January 2nd, it was showing 2. So, but then you can drop. Stuff like this, and then this way the static print will always say birthday. You don't have the columns. You can print lines if you want. A column line between there. And it's going to look weird now because it prints it for each because it's in the body, so it'll print it after. But because then nothing was aligned up here. So there's a lot you got to play with. The bodies usually is usually the information that'll be repeated. So like I want to probably put this in the page header and then everything underneath it. But there is quite a bit that can be done within Report Writer. But like I said, some caution here to maintain is you'll want to, like I said, avoid having multiple people editing the same file at the same time. That can break it, especially if they're running reports. I've also seen that break it. It's gotten a lot better. It's a lot more stable. I have not seen corrupted dictionary files in quite a while. But if something does happen, it does become corrupted, you'll probably get errors like it cannot find the .dic file, or it might say reports not, or the dictionary is not loaded. If those are the cases, there's a lot that we can do to pull those modified reports out and put them into an uncorrupted dictionary to you, so you're not losing reports. Because I have seen some customers with hundreds of modified reports, and it would take forever to remodify each of those. And in most cases, you can restore those fairly easy, easy enough to do. I'm pulling that back up here. Again, there it is, the tables, and you can associate tables. You can click on the new button there. And I kind of showed you the layout menu that we're playing. Like I said, everything I was just pulling from the payroll master. Some other functions that were on there: duplicate. Duplicate the currently modified report with a new name. You can't duplicate an existing one. This isn't always possible. Some of the GPs, sometimes that duplicate will be grayed out. Import. This is one of the options that we can do to try and recover a corrupted dictionary file. Is we'll build a new one, and then we can click import and try and pull out the data from the old one. Because everything's kind of stored in the same file, if one report gets corrupted, the entire file may show up. But usually, a lot of times, we can pull out everything but that one damaged one, and then there might be a couple other things we can do to fix that. Validate. It'll check reports for not custom but modified reports for invalid references. So if you're adding tables, And I didn't cover calculate fields. That's actually a pretty in-depth topic, and I may cover that at a future webinar. But validate's a good way to check to make sure that that works. And then print definition, which sections to print. Like I said, as I showed you, there was the report header, page header, body, and then some have like a page footer and a report footer. So if you want to omit something, you can affect that print definition. But like I said, that can affect how the report runs. So do be careful when you do that. And as I showed you here, when you click on the print, it'll bring up that familiar report destination window, screen printer or file. Select where to print it and then click the print button, or the OK button, excuse me, here. And that will print that for you. One other way that I do want to show you, there's actually a way within GP to back up those modified forms and reports here. And that is actually a very handy thing to do. Because like I said, if something happens, if all the files are stored on a SQL server and say that goes down for whatever reason, it can be easy to get up. So if you go to Tools, Customize, and then Customization Maintenance, these are all the modified forms reports. It still shows it here because it basically pulls it from that listing here within there, because it kind of reads it. What we can do is export that. So we select them all, we click Export. And that's it. I have just backed them up. And then if something happens, we reload GP for you. We click on Imports. And we just go out browsing for that file here. It's showing some, if you have modified forms, it'll be in here too. By product, this is the dictionary it's in. So if I'd modified a manufacturing one, it'd be in here. If I'd modified HRM series suite or solution, it'll show it here as the product. And what overwrite means is the report currently exists. This is what I currently have. It's going to replace it with what's in there. There isn't really much of a way to pull it out through the GUI here. But if I click OK, existing items will be overwritten. It will give you just one more continuation here. And it'll bring them back in. Again, those of you that like to use the helpful guides here, the reminders, checklists. Sorry about that. I should have closed my Outlook. It would be easy enough to simply add a reminder to back up modified forms reports libraries, or create package files or something like that. So that way, if you do that checklist, you see those reminders, you can make sure that that's getting done on a regular basis here. So that is about it. That actually went a lot smoother than I was anticipating. I do hope everybody learned some information here. Just checking, I'm not seeing any questions in the GoToWebinar. So it is, like I said, here's the contact information. Our office number 218-486-5095, or you can reach out to me directly, scott@iscorp.biz, and I'll be happy to assist you with any modifications. We also have support at iscorp.biz that will go to our general support queue. So the next available engineer will be more than happy to jump on it and assist you here. And again, our website, out there. I do hope that you did enjoy this and you learned more information. Like I said, this is a fairly 101 level high overview report writer. Many of you, this may have been a rehash of what you already know. If there is interest in hearing this in more in depth, please let me know. I'll be happy to cover certain topics within their customized fields, graphical layouts, or anything like that. Report writer to help you get the reports that you need so your business runs as smoothly as possible. So I do believe it is only about 12:40 here. So I'm going to go ahead and give everyone back 20 minutes here. I know if you're Central Time like we are, this is our lunch hour. So hopefully you haven't lost the entire thing, and you can take a little bit of a break here. Again, if you have any questions on Report Writer or any issues with your Dynamics GP application, please let us know. We'll be happy to help you. Again, my name is Scott, and I would like to thank you for joining me today on the Report Writer Basics. And I hope you have a wonderful day.